Hey, what's up guys, it's WiseGuyVito here, and today having our tier list video for you guys. This one will be on the primary weapons against the Automaton faction. This will not be against the Incendiary Core faction, or variety, I guess, of automatons. This will be mainly against just base enemy automatons at level 10 difficulty. So as always, like, share, and subscribe. Let's get straight into the tier list. So before we start, let's go over the tiers real quick. S tier is this. These are like kind of like the meta picks for level 10 if you want to run at the greatest proficiency that you can. A tier is above average. There might be like one glaring issue with it, but for the most part, you know, like you can still run these weapons at level 10 difficulty and be perfectly fine. B tier, average performance. You know, like it might have a particular niche, but it's not a good primary weapon against the automatons, but it's also not a bad weapon as well. And we'll kind of discuss which ones fall within this category. C tier, you know, below average. Would like to have some buffs to these weapons. I'll kind of explain what buffs I would like for these weapons to have. And then, of course, D tier is the dookie tier. This is the bad tier. This is, we need to have reworks tier, we need to have major buffs tier, and I'll explain what those buffs and reworks should be. So, without further ado, let's get straight into the tier list. So, the Adjudicator, I do find this to be a solid AR. I got a buff of about 5 damage last patch, and it pretty much feels the same as pre-patch as it is the post-patch. It is just 5 damage more. If they were to do anything else to this weapon, just give it more ammo. But for that reason, I am going to be putting it at a high A status because I just think that it's just a good all-arounder primary. It's just a solid, good AR primary to use. It has medium armor pen, so like it's really good at handling Devastators, which is primarily what the enemy, or primarily what enemy that you will be running into at level 10, especially like the heavy Devastators, rocket Devastators. You'll be running into them all the time, so you might need a weapon that has medium armor pen to it. So that's why I'm putting it into the A tier category. Blitzer, B tier, in my opinion. You don't want to use this thing too close up. I mean, well, like you're going to have to get close up, but that's the problem with it. You will get beamed down against heavy Devastators. You know, it does have the shock value, or like the shock effect, the stun effect, and stuff like that. It does do decent crowd control, but for the most part, you kind of want to play at range against the automatons, just overall. It will cut through medium armor, so that's a plus to it. But in my opinion, I do think that there are better options out there for level 10 difficulty. Blitzer is more for the Illuminate, it's more for the Terminids, not really a bot weapon, but even then, if it's not a bot weapon, it's still pretty good, seeing how it is in the B tier category and not being a bot weapon. So that's why I'm putting it into the average tier. Breaker is not where it should be, or well, it's not where it was, you know, when the game first launched, right? It was the king of the primaries. You know, to me, it feels more of like a Terminate weapon, feels more of an Illuminate weapon than it does a bot weapon. It does have medium armor pen. It has like armor penetration to it. If you are going to be using this, aim for Devastator legs because you will cut them down pretty quickly. But for the most part, again, there's only like a few shotguns that I would recommend you using against the automaton. The Breaker, I wouldn't suggest it, but if you did pick it, you will have to kind of work around his weaknesses a little bit in order to thrive at level 10. Whereas with some of these other primaries up here in level, you know, A tier, and even in especially in S tier, you don't have to really worry about major weaknesses to kind of work around. So that's why I'm putting it into the B tier category. The Constitution, definitely one of the coolest weapons in the game, in my opinion, because it's a nice little like Lee Enfield or type of bolt action. I do not think this is a good weapon right now, even with medium armor penetration to it. It needs a stripper clip. In my opinion, just a faster reload, and it needs to do like a little bit more damage for how much ammo that you slug out, which is like 5 bullets, and you have to reload 1 at a time. And so it just needs a damage buff and needs a speed reload. But other than that, I would definitely not suggest using this at level 10 difficulties. The Cookout, I bounce around between S tier and A tier. It's it's a good solid weapon. Fire does affect the automatons, but what's nice about it is that the Cookout has where it kind of loses out in damage, it thrives in stagger, so that's really good for just mainline just crowd control, and you're applying damage over time. For me personally, though, it's gonna have to be an A tier. I primarily want something that takes down Devastators quickly. Granted, if they are staggered, they're not really doing anything to you anyways, but there are times where a Devastator will still be shooting at you even though it staggers you at times. And for me personally, I'd rather have something that can take down Devastators very, very quickly. So that's why I'm putting it into the A tier category. The Counter Sniper Diligence. This is S tier all day long. I think this is probably like one of the best primary weapons against the automatons. It's just medium armor pen, one-shot headshot Devastators in the face if you take your time to aim. It's just overall just a fantastic weapon. To me, the Counter Sniper Diligence is the sniper of the game right now compared to one particular sniper rifle that we'll talk about and why I don't think that sniper rifle is not great. But overall, though, I think the Counter Sniper Diligence is a phenomenal weapon. You should definitely be using it at level 10 difficulties. If you're wanting to sweat at level 10 difficulties and complete them as fast as possible, you definitely want to bring the Counter Sniper Diligence. The Defender. The Defender, for me, feels kind of meh against the bots. I'm going to put it in the C tier category. You can definitely beam down Devastator headshots, which is fine. It doesn't have medium armor penetration to it. It's got light armor. It's got light armor. You could take this. I wouldn't suggest it. I think what makes a primary weapon good against the automatons is that at the very least it has to have some sort of light armor penetration to it. Either that, or if it doesn't have light armor penetration, it needs to do a front load of damage to it as well. That's why I think that the Breaker is kind of more like an average here. Even though it has light armor penetration to it, it's still a shotgun. So, but in any case, the Defender did get a damage buff, which was nice, but I just feel like this is more of a Terminate and Illuminate weapon than anything else. So that's why I'm putting it into the C tier category. This is the Diligence, which is just the regular DMR. Even though it has light armor penetration to it, it still does good work against the Devastators because all you gotta do is just tap them in the head. It got an increase in bullets this last patch, and to me it actually feels pretty decent against the automaton, so I'm going to put it into the A tier category. The Dominator, this thing really hasn't changed much. It's still kind of S tier for me because again, like, you're going to be running into Devastators and Chicken Walkers and stuff that does medium armor, or that has kind of like the medium armor protection to it. You're going to be using the Devastator a lot. Like all these, again, naturally, something with medium armor pen to it is definitely going to be leagues above better than anything that does light armor penetration against the automatons, because it's that ease of use to it. And the Dominator is no difference, so that's why I'm putting it into the S tier category. It does great damage and handles Devastators very, very well. The double-edged Sickle, if you do not run fire armor with it, it kind of feels bad in my opinion. It's like a C tier, maybe in like a high, or like maybe even in the B tier, because I do think that the change that happened to it was a nerf overall. It was just a nerf because like it's now pigeonholing you into a particular build, and that build is you have to run this thing with fire resistant armor in order for it to be good. With fire resistant armor though, it's either going to be a high A or into S. I'm going to be kind of nice to it. I do think that it's actually very good against the automatons once you start running fire ammo to it. It feels amazing, actually. But, again, I would definitely like to see this weapon change and kind of lessen the kind of fire that it applies, or kind of return it back to the way that it was, because I don't think this thing really needed armor pen for. I just thought that it was just a solid medium armor laser gun, and that's what made it fun to use with the fire stuff to it. So the Eruptor got a change here recently, where they kind of messed around with the shrapnel trajectories. This thing was one-shotting Devastators post-patch, okay? Post, like, the big patch, the Borderline Justice patch, this thing was one-shot Devastators, it was one-shotting tanks, it was one-shotting Hulks if you hit them in the eye. It would one-shot the turrets if you hit them from behind. It just felt really good to use. Now, I'm saying this, because you might be saying, Vito, like you're saying this thing can one-shot things. You have to understand, it has a very low fire rate. It doesn't have that much ammo to it. It in my opinion, it was fine where it was. I like the pre-patch Eruptor better, or launch Eruptor better. I thought that was the best version of it. I thought that was the most balanced version of it. It was the most fun version of it. Now what has happened is that they've messed with the shrapnel to where you no longer really one-shot Hulks anymore. You have to two-tap them in the face. You no longer one-shot Devastators. And again, like, this is just my testing of it. If anyone else has anything different, just let me know down in the comment section. But to me, the Eruptor, it feels really bad to use. It feels really bad to use right now. They gutted it. I literally with one change, they've gutted it, in my opinion. Like, it's not terrible, right? It's not trash necessarily, but I'm putting it in D tier to effectively make the statement of, why are you fucking with this? Why? It was fine as is. I understand the whole, Odo, kind of like, Southwest, baby. If you hit a charger Southwest, you can one-shot it, baby. It's like, cool, but again, that requires, skill and shot placement. You're not just going around just one-shotting chargers. Like, it's not like you're just, pointing at a charger and saying, oh, like, you're already dead, and then just die, right? I don't understand why they're messing with this weapon. In my opinion, they should just revert it back to pre-launch, or excuse me, at launch Eruptor, because I thought that was the best Eruptor. The only thing that they needed to change on launch Eruptor was how much ammo they had. Because remember, the Eruptor, whenever it first came out, had 12 magazines in reserve. It was really strong back then, but then they reduced it down to 6, and it felt better to use. It just did. Like, it just felt, or like it felt more balanced, I guess, compared to when it had 12 in the mag, and you can just take out, you never had to hit a resupply at all, because you just had that much ammo to it. But what they did this last patch is that they made it kind of like into like a tank killing weapon, because they gave it Armor Pen 4, and it felt really good to use. Then they messed with the shrapnel, and now the gun feels terrible. Oh my god, this gun feels awful to use now. And this is just my opinion, okay? Even if they kept it the same, it would be a high A tier weapon, in my opinion. Maybe low S, just simply because there are times where the Devastators, this is not a really good horde clearing weapon. It's, as far as after Borderline Justice, it was more like a tank weapon. It was more like I said before, you handle Hulks, you handle tanks, you handle turrets, you handle those more than you would, just like a group of Devastators or whatever. You can still use this on Devastators, picking them off. Can this still one-shot Devastators? No, in my opinion. Unless you hit them in the head. But if you're going to be head-tapping Devastators, just bring a counter-sniper Diligence. Just bring in a DMR. Bring the lever action. You can definitely bring something else. This is why I do not understand Arrowhead's balancing stuff. Some guy, some YouTuber, Odo finds a fucking way to say, hey, you can one-shot chargers in the leg with this thing, and they nerf it, and now it's trash. Stop messing with this gun. Stop it. It was fine before. It was fine. It didn't need any changes. Anyway, that's my rant. Eruptor, D tier. You guys can let me know down in the comment section what you think about the Eruptor right now. But right now, the Eruptor, after the change yesterday, the hot fix yesterday, okay, it doesn't feel good to use anymore. It felt good to use before. It doesn't feel good. It just doesn't feel good now. So, the explosive crossbow is S tier. Handles groups of Devastators. Fantastic for killing fabricators as well. It's just an overall just a solid weapon. It's one-handed. It's very versatile. it's probably like one of the best weapons to use, like top 5 in my opinion, against the automatons right now at level 10 difficulty. The Halt, I bounce around from A to S. I actually do really like this gun a lot, just simply because it has stun rounds. Stun rounds is very good. Like when you stun like a group of enemies, you can swap to Flechette. The Flechette is medium armor pen. Again, medium armor pen's really good. It's just a phenomenal automaton killing weapon. It just is very well, and the stun lasts for 5 seconds. So it's a nice versatile weapon. You have to hold your reload button to switch the ammo types from Flechette to stun, but overall it's just a phenomenal weapon. The Incendiary Breaker, personally I just think the Cookout just better in every way. Just applies damage over time and it staggers compared to the Breaker, which doesn't stagger, and all you do is just spray and praying into a crowd. Way better on Illuminate and way better on bugs. So that's what I'm putting into the C tier category. Lever action, definitely in my opinion S tier. Just it staggers like hell. Has really good durable damage. I think it's like 100 durable damage to it. It can, I want to say 4 or 5 tap Hulks in the back, which feels really good. It can 2 tap Chicken Walkers on the undercarriage part. If you hit a Devastator in the chest, it can take them out in 3 shots. Why do that whenever you can just head tap them, type of thing? It's just a really good weapon. So if you want something that staggers and just does more damage, then you want to take the lever action. If you want more ammo, a little bit more versatility overall, then you would take the counter sniper Diligence. It's just a playstyle thing. But I like the lever action. Lever action is my baby right now. And Helldivers it's probably my favorite gun in the entire game right now. Liberator Carbine. Not gonna lie, this is more of a bug weapon and a bot weapon. Excuse me, a bug weapon and a squid weapon than anything else. Doesn't feel particularly good. Sprays all over the place. If you're gonna be running these type of ARs, you're gonna be wanting to hit headshots. It's like armor penetration as well. Maybe in the future, if they add attachments, then it'd be better. Same thing with anything I put in these categories right here. If it's kind of like a basic weapon, you're going to be wanting to run something that, or like an attachment system would greatly benefit these weapons, and that would just be the buff to it. But anyways, Liberator Carbine, I wish I had an underbarrel to it at launch, to be honest with you. Grenade launcher, shotgun, something just to give it like a little bit more versatility to it. But for the time being, it's going to be a D-tier weapon for me. It's not really a bot weapon. Liberator Concussive, it feels really good as a support weapon. Just stagger everything in front of you, and that's it. Feels fine. Concussive rounds feel fine. Just 60 round drum mag. They reverted the bug change. I'm saying bug change or change or however you want to say it, where they took away like 1 or 2 magazines from it. They gave the magazines back, so it's back to where it was before, but it has a fast fire rate now, which feels nice. So that's what I'm putting into the B tier category. Liberator Penetrator, I'm gonna be nice to this thing. I want to put this in B tier. I really do. I really do, because in my opinion, I feel like the Adjudicator is better, but for some folks, they just feel like this gun just clicks with them. So for that, I'm gonna put it in A tier. It did get a damage buff, I believe. It has medium armor pen, so you can use this against the automatons, which is fine. I just prefer the Adjudicator more. Some people don't, because they don't like the thing jumping out of your hand. This thing does fine against Devastators. It does. I would be aiming for Devastator heads, though, with this, because you have the recoil control for it. And if you miss the head, it's no big deal, because it has medium armor pen. So, like, at least you're doing some sort of damage to the Devastator. So, but, for me personally, just use the Adjudicator over the Liberator Penetrator. That's just my advice. And just get used to the recoil. But for the most part, I think it's a fine weapon. Liberator, kind of like just like the basic standard weapon that's issued to all Helldivers. It's not great, in my opinion, against the automatons. Again, if attachment system comes out, it probably would be better, because at that point you can kind of mess around and see what you can do to kind of build like the ultimate, rifle. because from what the leaks are saying anyways is that they are working on some sort of attachment system. So we'll see how the Liberator looks against the automatons after the attachment system is released. Plasma sniper rifle, it's a D-tier weapon for me. I don't know why I should be using this whenever the DMRs in the game act more like snipers than a sniper rifle. Plasma rifle has the same damage fall off as the Cookout, which is a shotgun, by the way. You know, sure has medium armor pin to it, but like I said before, the counter sniper Diligence, which again is a DMR, acts more like a sniper than an actual sniper rifle. Okay, this is why I would just rather use like the lever action. I'd rather use the Diligence over the over the plasma rifle. It just feels that bad, you know. And until they make major reworks and major buffs to this, it's going to remain in D tier for me. So you guys let me know what you think about the plas rifle. In my opinion, it's just not a good weapon. It has awful ammo economy for what you get out of it as well. It's just not good. Not good at all. Plasma Punisher. I'm gonna put this in A tier. It does really good stagger. It has decent crowd control to it. I just wish that the actual projectile plasma ball or whatever did not detonate on proxy. So basically, if an enemy is near the plasma ball, what ends up happening is that the plasma ball explodes. Before, it used to be that wherever it hit, that's where it exploded. I think it should be reverted back to that. That felt better, in my opinion, than what it feels like right now. It feels like the damage is not all there whenever it explodes on proxy, whereas before it felt like I got all like my damage value whenever I hit the trajectory correctly on the Plasma Punisher. So that's why I'm putting it into the A tier category. Pummeler's bugged. Stun rounds, they made it to where it takes less rounds to stun something, but the stun duration is still very small, and it's bugged anyways because it takes actually more rounds to stun something. So I'm putting it into the D tier category. It's just a bugged out weapon right now. This is the Punisher. Punisher feels okay. It feels fine. If you're aiming for Devastator legs, then you can just kneecap Devastators. But other than that, B tier. The Purifier is Omega S tier in my opinion. Probably like probably top 5 in the game right now. Just simply because you can either fire it like a Scorcher, or you can charge it and then release it and do amazing crowd control and high damage towards Devastators. So that's why I'm putting it into the S tier category. It feels really good to use right now. Reprimand, A tier. They need to really fix. Okay, so they buffed the projectile spread, I guess, or the bloom factor of this weapon. I don't think it's going to need bloom, in my opinion. Just it having high damage, but you have a really low or like a really slow reload to it, and and you can't one-hand it. I think it's fine. Like just lower the projectile or like the projectiles or like the bloom more. Just decrease the bloom more, and I think it'd be perfect. But what they've made the changes, or the changes that they've made to this gun on the bloom factor for this weapon, it feels fine. It feels good, actually, but they just need to lower just a little bit more. The Scorcher is S tier, in my opinion. I bounce around these two a lot because if I want something that handles crowd control in one shot, does high damage in one shot, is a Purifier. If I just want just a straight plasma alien killing auto rifle that's energy based, I'm gonna use the Scorcher. Scorcher's really fun to use. Like it's really, really fun and really, really just interesting to use against the bots. And it ignores medium armor, so that's why I'm putting it into the S tier category. This is the Torture. Unless you're a masochist and you just want to be a meme lord, then use it against the bots. Otherwise, don't use it. It's just not good against the bots at all. This is more like this thing doesn't really need any reworks. It's just better against Terminids and Illuminate. But I want to put it into the D tier. This is the Scythe. The Scythe is A tier in my opinion. You just can't get hit. Don't get hit. Otherwise, your laser will go all over the place. You want to aim for Devastator heads, in which case it kills them very quickly. It just feels really good against the bots. If they made it to where if you hit a spot on a Devastator constantly and it like did more damage, I mean, granted, like this thing sets things on fire, so that's probably what it is. Also, it sets things on fire, which is also feels really good. But the only thing is that I would wear probably like some unflinching armor for this, and then it feels fine to use against the bots. It's just a solid weapon. The Sickle. Sickle's fine. If you're, I probably put it like in low A. To be honest with you, because I'd rather just use the double edge and just run fire resistant armor and just go into that build for more, for just more ease of use. If you're going for headshots, remember this thing has light armor penetration to it. It has unlimited ammo, which is nice. It's like same thing with the Scythe. Just be mindful. Like you just need to go for headshots. You can clean up little bots very well with it, but mainly you're going to be wanting shot placement with this, and then you'll be fine. Slugger is at the very least A tier. I think it needs a damage buff to it, and I think it'd be perfect. But for the most part, I really do like this gun a lot. It can 2-3 tap chicken walkers. It can stagger like a holy hell. This thing can stagger. It feels really good to use for stagger wise. And they took away the slug deviation, which felt awful, felt terrible. And in my opinion, I do think that it is kind of like in a good spot right now. Spray and Pray, D tier. Again, more of a Terminid, an Illuminate weapon. I would not really be using this at all against Devastators or anything, but definitely feels not the greatest against the bots because of that Spray and Pray factor. It has Bird Shot, okay? Bird Shot. You're not going to be doing a lot of damage with Bird Shot. But this is like the Stag, basically like the Killzone submachine gun. Just see, it just needs more ammo. It's basically a PPSH. I think it's a PPSH, or whatever. Basically, it has a drum mag on the front, right? Give it ammo. Give it like 80 rounds. Be fun. Same thing with the Stag. I think this is the Stag or the STA or whatever, and that's the Stag. Basically, the Killzone auto rifle and the Killzone submachine gun. They just need more ammo. That's it. If they had more ammo, they'd be B tier. Like 80 rounds in both of these, it'd be a different playstyle thing. If do you want something that's more spray and pray or whatever, then you run this the Killzone SMG. Do you want something that's not one-handed but is more like an auto rifle and gives you more control with 80 rounds, then use this, right? These guns would be these guns would be amazing on Terminids and Illuminate and be decent on bots if they just have more ammo. That's it. That's all they need. So, the Knight just needs attachments at this point. I don't think there's really anything you can really do to this anymore than they've already have done to it. It just needs attachments. Once the attachment system comes out, it would be in a way better state. And the Tenderizer I do think is an A tier. It's just a laser beam. So just aim for Devastator heads or aim for the legs, just kneecap them. And it does very fine. Does 105 damage too as well. It just does work. It does work, and it feels really good to use. So this is my tier list for the Automaton front. You guys let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I would very much like to hear what you guys have to say on the matter. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and see you guys next time. Bye-bye.